Welcome to North Clackamas School District Board Meeting on Thursday, August 11th at 6:34 p.m. We'll start with a land acknowledgement. Oh, sorry. It's muted.
Okay, it's muted.
Yeah. Not sure. Not sure. Well, maybe, but I'm not on Zoom here. Slide. What? Can you do it like that? Check.
Chair Bauer.
Yes.
In the participants, I see an NCSD board that's not muted.
It's not muted.
I just heard that microphone pick up. I'm not sure if that's your location or something, a room mic.
That should be the system.
Okay.
That's all of our mics are the NCSD board one.
Mine is unmuted. So is this, it's still the echo. It sounds like mine.
Here we go. Try it.
Okay, I muted my sound, so that took care of it. Okay, can we go ahead now with the land acknowledgement by Director Perez?
Testing. Okay. All right. Native land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and the Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you, Director Perez. Director McVeigh, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Next is the minutes for our last meeting, July 7th, 2022. I'll open the floor for a motion.
I make a motion to approve July 7, 2022 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been properly moved by Director Way, second by Director McVeigh to approve the July 7th, 2022 minutes. Any discussion? So all those in favor say aye.
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 Myself is an aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, then the vote is in favor. One is absent, so 6. Yeah, 6 approve. Next on the is a consent agenda. It has two items, employment changes and policy revisions. I'll open the floor for a motion.
I make a motion to approve our consent agenda, which includes employment changes and policy revisions.
Second,
Second.
Director Perez. Motion has been properly moved by Director Way, second by Director Perez to approve the consent agenda, which includes employment changes and policy revisions. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, I myself is also an aye. Consent agenda, which includes employment changes policy, is approved by a vote of 6 in favor. Okay, next is community comments. We have none online, none in the audience. Okay, we'll just move on. Board reports. Let's go around and start with Director Perez.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't attended any events this summer. Let me think.
You did the Business Alliance, North Clackamas Business
Of Clackamas business.
Chamber. They had their Friday business session. And it was at a very special place.
Oh, yes, that was just last
there.
week. Yes. Attended the Children's Center of Clackamas County. They had the chamber, North Clackamas Chamber there. And a lot of people showed up for that. There was quite a turnout, and it was a beautiful day. And to recognize an important cause, our children, there's no greater mission. And but it was good to connect with a lot of business and community members. And and you were there as well.
Thank you. Director Way.
Well, it's been a great summer so far. I haven't been too busy quite yet, but I know that several of us, the members, went to the Oregon School Boards Association summer conference in Bend. So that was 3 just fun-filled days of meeting, connecting with, I want to say, like 300 other local board members across our state. And it hasn't been done in a couple of years. So it just felt a little awkward seeing everybody in person again. But I was able to attend several workshops around board governance. There was a huge topic area around public comments and just that process. And then I also was fortunate to lead a workshop with Erica Lopez, who's the chair of the Hillsborough School District. And we led a workshop on behalf of the Oregon School Board members of Color Caucus. So all in all, it was a great conference. I also want to say that we are also through that caucus reappointing folks who are interested or who would like to serve on the leadership council of the Oregon School Board's member of Color Caucus. So we're going to be sending a survey out. There's going to be a vote that is coming at the November fall conference around those positions and those opportunities. So if anybody is interested and identify as a person of color and on the school board, please look out for those emails from us. And then I also attended a couple of weeks ago an ad hoc committee that Director Bauer was also in. It was virtual and it was led by our legal counsel, and it was a great committee. So learned a lot about just all the different policy efforts and revisions that we're trying to get a handle on.
Thank you, Director Way. Director McVeigh.
I'll pass, except I will just publicly thank the board and the administration for all the well wishes during the time of my mom's passing. It was much appreciated.
Thank you. Next, Director Schradel.
No board report. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Benaloga.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bauer. I also, several of us, of course, attended the Oregon State School Board Association Summer Conference in Bend. It's always wonderful to connect with other board members and just and superintendents really across the state. The key speaker was Steve Constantino, Dr. Steve Constantino, excuse me, just very engaging, actually talking about family engagement. And it was very interesting. I also attended meetings on student voice, engagement, and equity. It's always interesting, great information, and of course, wonderful to connect with our board members across the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Benaloga. I also attended the Chamber Business Connections with Director Perez Ad Hoc Committee and the OSBA Summer Conference at Bend. Maybe in our governance or at some point we can find some time for people to follow up and give a little bit more input of what they learned through the OSBA. But we can talk to the superintendent about that. Okay, going on to the next is the board liaison committee assignments. I'm going to turn this over to Vice Chair Benaloga. She organized that and took care of putting it together.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bauer. I just wanted to, the list of the committees based on everybody's interests are in the board packet. So there is a list of our committees that are available there. We do just a couple of reminders. We have a couple of our committees that are a little short on members. So if you see something that only has 1 or 2 members and it's something you might be interested in, please let me know. We would be happy to have you join that group. And also to please reach out to the other folks. If you're ever unable to attend one of the committee assignments that you have, please reach out to the other members just to make sure that we will have representation. And then if for some reason there will not be a board member who's available, please reach out to myself or to Chair Bauer, and we will try to find someone to attend that meeting in your place. So thank you very much. This is just for information. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to hear those now.
Any questions or comments for Director Benaloga? Thank you so much for getting that all together. We appreciate it. And for everyone stepping up as best as they can. This is a difficult time for a lot of people, but appreciate you stepping up. Next on our agenda, moving right along, is the preschool grant promise grant, and we get to welcome Dr. Kalia Williams Rodriguez. And will you introduce also thank you.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. We are excited to join you this evening, and it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Jen Burkhart, our early learning coordinator, and we have great and exciting news to share with you.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Members of the school board, community members, and colleagues, thank you for finding time for us this evening. It's an absolute honor to be here before you today with a potential opportunity to offer preschool programming for our students and families. As stated, my name is Jen Burkhart. I'm the early learning coordinator for the North Clackamas School District. My role is to support our early learning partnerships and support onboarding preschool programming, also aligning our efforts preschool through 2nd grade. In today's presentation, we'll begin by sharing why preschool is essential, and then introducing you to our North Clackamas Preschool Advisory Team, and finally offering for your consideration an opportunity to onboard preschool programming through the Preschool Promise Grant. So why is preschool essential for our students? I have to say it was very challenging for me to condense this section down to one slide. The research base on the importance and benefits of preschool offer a variety of arguments as to why preschool is just simply a great idea. The first point is that after decades of research, including longitudinal studies, the most famous conducted by the Nobel laureate in economics, James Heckman, early childhood education, including preschool, has higher returns on investment than anything we could put our money to in education. Thank you for the head nods. Remedial programs in the later grades are expensive, not as effective, and often come too late. It is far more cost effective to create strong foundations and to sustain those benefits in the early grades. This is exactly why the preschool to third grade movement exists. It was born out of these economic studies. The second argument is that due to advances in neural research, we now know how the young brain develops and have discovered that the early years are not just formative. The experiences a child will have in their earliest years will actually shape the architecture and the neural connections and establish the architecture of a child's brain. It is much harder to change the architecture of the brain than it is to shape it in the early years. This isn't just about cognitive knowledge. We're talking about all aspects and dimensions of a child's neural function. Their physical abilities, social abilities, their emotional regulation, their language, their ability to code reading and writing symbols, and more. Access and opportunity gaps emerge before kindergarten and often persist for years to come. Third, onboarding preschool programming is an equity initiative. At present, only 1/3 of eligible children attend publicly funded preschool programs. In Clackamas County, less than 15% of 3- and 4-year-olds attend preschool, and this actually places us in a childcare desert category due to the lack of affordable childcare and preschool options. Because of the way early childhood is funded in our country and our state, there is far more demand than there is supply, and it is expensive. And mostly families with the means to pay for preschool out of pocket are gaining the benefits. In anticipation of this need, during the 2021-2022 school year, we formed the North Clackamas Preschool Advisory Team with the aim of advising on the values, goals, and priorities that would influence practice when designing and implementing the North Clackamas preschool program. Next slide. Thank you. Over the course, next slide, sorry. Over the course of the preschool year, a comprehensive group of community partners, classroom teachers, specialists, early childhood experts, principals, district administrators, all studied, discussed, and collaborated around early childhood development, research, program models, and instructional implications. Throughout our work, it was a priority to bring diverse perspectives into the room and center the voices from our North Clackamas Racial Affinity Group colleagues. In addition, we conducted numerous empathy interviews with families from culturally specific communities to ensure our family values, goals, and needs remained at the center of our efforts. While we've continued work to do, 4 values emerged consistent and true across all perspectives. Our goal will be to ensure programming is culturally affirming, designed with practices based on child development research, partnered with families authentically, and fully inclusive. While we do not have time this evening to dive into all 4 values, because of our affinity, parent, and preschool advisory teams all emphasized the strong value of culturally affirming programming, we thought it was important to share a bit more depth on this one. In early childhood, oh, sorry, we're back, but that's okay. In early childhood, culturally affirming practice begins by removing barriers to ensure enrollment efforts are accessible to all. It means striving to hire high-quality educators that reflect the culturally and linguistic attributes of the community. It also means that the books we read and the songs we sing, the dolls, the playful objects are carefully selected to ensure culturally relevance and engagement. Pedagogically, if we remain truly child-centered, culturally affirming means that we begin and honor the interests, questions, and lived experiences of the children before us as we design learning experiences. Without further ado, let's dive into the opportunity before us all, the Preschool Promise Grant. Preschool Promise is a publicly funded program serving children 200% below the poverty level and managed by the Oregon Department of Education's Early Learning Division. In our Preschool Promise classroom, we would staff 1 lead teacher and 2 instructional assistants to support 18 students. As previously stated, our classrooms will be fully inclusive with accommodations for children identified as eligible for special education or related services. We will work with the Clackamas Educational Service District and our very own early childhood special education team to ensure all accommodations and supplementary supports are fully integrated into planned experiences. Based on several factors, Oak Grove has been identified as a potential Preschool Promise location. Oak Grove's community demographics align with the Preschool Promise and the early care and education sector plans priority population by providing programming to our foster care, Latinx, homeless, Black, and emergent bilingual children. In addition, the Oak Grove's campus meets the requirements for safety and security, the standards outlined within the early care requirements. If we are awarded the grant and the school board approves, our next potential phase would be Lot Whitcomb Elementary with the hope of onboarding a dual immersion program. As you can see here, the grant award amounts are determined by a per student allocation. If awarded, we will have a transportation enhancement and startup costs supported with a total anticipated allocation just shy of $300,000. The table you see here displayed outlines the timeline for the grant and the process associated. I'll give you a moment to review that. As you can clearly see, this has been an abbreviated process with a very tight turnaround. The application you have reviewed in the board packet is our current proposal with our best thinking to date. After notices of intent to award are sent, we will enter a negotiation process over the proposed details, budget, and the technical aspects. As an organization, we still need to do our due diligence to ensure some of our logistical pieces of the proposal are feasible in our current context. We will absolutely keep the school board updated with any changes to our proposal as we move forward in the process. In conclusion, onboarding high-quality preschool for our children and families aligns beautifully with our North Clackamas strategic plan across all pillars, specifically in the area of resources and service. Our strategic plan describes the importance of strengthening and developing partnerships that remove barriers to learning and advance the school district's goals. Decades of research continues to confirm children who have access to high quality preschool are more likely to score proficient on standardized tests, graduate high school, enroll in college, and enter higher paying careers. Preschool is an equity initiative indeed. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration for our opportunity for our children and families. We would love to take this time to open up for any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. Director McVeigh.
Well, you have one of the best jobs in the district, I think. I think we all think that. So
think
two
so, too.
questions. I know that everything hasn't been worked out yet. Do you think it'll be all day or will it be 2 sets of 18? And then the second question would be, will they have access to care programs?
Oh, that's a great question. The first one I can for sure answer. The Preschool Promise Grant requires full day, at least 4 days of service. And there's some 900 hours, I believe, over the course of a school year. The second question will be something that I'm going to write down. We will make sure that we get back to you on that information. Some of those details still need to be determined. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Director Way.
Thank you, Jen. And Dr. Rodriguez for this presentation. I think it's great. I'm such a big advocate for early childhood education. Previously, I worked at 211 Info, and we actually had an early childhood development specialist working there. It was grant funded, and she is actually a parent of our district, but she has her master's in early childhood development, and I would be the community outreach person, and I would, basically connect families to this amazing resource. So this programming, and hopefully we get it, which is part of my question, is just so wonderful. And I think it's going to address a lot of gaps that our state and our district currently has. So my first question was just the competitive of these grants. I know that we're probably applying with other school districts. Have we gotten word back from ODE and the early learning development office, just in terms of our progress or next steps or anything that we can do to help support this effort as we move along? Or are we just like, we need to wait, basically?
The one update I am able to share with you is after we turned in our grant, very timely, by the way, they actually extended the deadline because we were one of 2 in all of Clackamas County that were able to meet the initial deadline. So that bodes well for us, I believe. And the second question was around anything that we can do. I actually believe there's a pretty stringent process of us not reaching out to, So
Awesome.
from what I've read in the grant manual, we're actually not allowed to reach out before, but thank you for the support and the desire to do so.
Absolutely. And then just my next comment, and then I'll wrap up, is I love that you mentioned families and family engagement, and not just parent engagement. That was actually one of the things that Dr. Constantine at the keynote of the OSBA conference said, is that, family dynamics and structures are changing now in 2022. It's no longer just, a father working and then a mom working at home, as it was, decades ago. We have single headed households, and we have siblings, raising their younger siblings, and we have grandparents. And so I just love that you emphasize family, because I think it's so important, and it's so, I think it's just better inclusive of just where a lot of our communities and families are at. So thank you.
Director Benaloga, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bauer. Of course, I ran a preschool for 26 years. This is near and dear to my heart. I believe so strongly in early childhood education. I have a question and then a comment. What you say 18 kids, how do you think you're going to handle, I'm assuming, far more interest than 18 preschoolers?
That is an excellent question. This is a program we are absolutely wanting to grow in the future. So that is one way that I would think that we would be handling that, as we're trying to develop this program. This is our initial step in trying to work out some of the kinks and make sure that we really are able to establish quality programming from the onset. According to the Preschool Promise Grant, Oregon Department of Education and the Early Learning Division have requirements for enrollment, and 18 is the max. They will be supporting and helping us coordinate those enrollment efforts, and they're very much working on those overflow and wait lists to find additional preschool promise options in the area. That is one of the reasons the Preschool Promise Grant was reissued, and this is a second wave of grant offerings because of this high need. So I hope that answers your question.
So will it be first come, first serve, or are we thinking it will be a lottery system for those 18 spots?
So as the ELD manages the enrollment process, and they have an entire process for how they determine who is off the list and who's on the list. That is something I absolutely could get back to the school board with some more details around that, around their criteria and the process for which they use enrollment. I'm happy to do that.
All right, I would appreciate that. And I also have a comment of, and I know you've brought it up a little bit today, but preschool is absolutely essential for our 3- and 4-year-olds. I think it is the It can be the great equalizer. It gets kids in. It oftentimes when you have, very well-educated, connected staff, then they understand that maybe a student might need special needs or they might need special services to help them be successful. But I also think it's important that we understand how important preschool is for our parents. That our parents and our families are truly supported when we find those early childhood learning opportunities, because we're not only just educating and socializing and working with our littles, but we're also supporting our families and giving them information and, teaching them growth and progress mindset. And I just think that that's so important that, yes, we want to service our children, but I think it's also so important that our community understand how much this also supports our families and our parents as well. So I'm very excited to be seeing this be brought to the district. And I'm thankful for all the work that all of you have put into making sure that this is successful and that we're able to secure this grant. And I do appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, directors? Seeing Director Perez.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. And Director Benaloga stole my question. I was going to ask about how the enrollment worked, but my kids did preschool, and they have thrived socially in their classrooms, and they actually enjoy going to school, especially my daughter. And I think that has a lot to do with the preschool experience that they had. But also, Director Benaloga hit on something a moment ago. I just want to echo what she said, because one thing that came out of the preschool experience that my wife and I were very thankful for and very grateful is that when we walked into that center, we were connected with so many resources, not just our kids going into class, but they had things up on the bulletin board. The folks that worked there would always engage us and, what's going on. I mean, so it's a huge opportunity for our families to connect with many, many resources. So I'm excited about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chair.
Director McVeigh.
It could have been last year or 5 years ago. I can't remember, but the administration thought that we would, and maybe we have always offered materials and curriculum to other early childhood programs like Milwaukee Lutheran Church and the different ones. Do any of them take us up on that and help get these kids on the right path, or do they not take any of our materials? And maybe we don't know that yet.
No. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Pre-COVID, there were some efforts over about 3 years prior. And certainly we had some preschools participate.
Director Way, Director Schradel, do you have any before we repeat comments, input?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Director Way.
Yeah, sorry. I just had one more question that came up. Are we also doing with this grant developmental screenings or, issues, flags? Because I would just know that in that age group, early detection is so important. So just wondering if that's
Excellent.
a part of that.
Excellent question. Absolutely. Yes. Any high quality preschool program must ensure that those developmental screenings are happening. We have an amazing department within our own school district, our early childhood special education by Fiorella Kassab, who has a high quality program for screening and connecting with families early so that we can ensure, if we are having a fully inclusive preschool program, that those supports and accommodations are there day one, that they're not an afterthought. It's not responsive. They're integrated within everything that we do. And having those developmental screenings are essential to make sure that that happens. So yes, thank you.
Great. Wonderful presentation, and it's so badly needed. I mean, my kids are in their 30s and I struggled with finding daycare and preschool, and now they're having their kids and they're having the same problem, but I don't think it's improved at all. If anything, because of COVID, it's worse. So it's just a great need that we have. And thank you for pursuing this grant and giving us all the information. So this will come back to us at a later meeting. Okay, great. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you all.
Okay, moving right along on the agenda, superintendent's contract. I want to thank Director Ford and Vice Chair Benaloga for your work on this committee. This work that we do is, well, every year we evaluate and we review the contract if needed. The board has been provided an update and proposed contract that is a result of the committee's work. They analyzed compensation of 4 Oregon comparably sized districts. Their goal was to provide a contract to Superintendent James that recognizes her leadership in a very challenging position, is fair and comparable to peer districts, and provides a strong incentive for her to remain in this position at North Clackamas School District. I'm going to ask for a motion.
McVeigh, I make a motion of approval of a 3-year contract with Superintendent Shay James through June 30th, 2025.
Thank
Director
you.
Shadle, second.
Okay, Director Stradle beat Director Perez on that one.
Beat me by a millisecond.
You can take my eye.
Okay, any comments? Director Ray?
Yeah, I just, I mean, I can go on about our superintendent, James, but I am just so grateful for her leadership and just how she shows up for not only our board and our staff, but just for community and whether it's just through listening or, getting feedback. You're just an amazing person, Shay. So thank you so much for your dedication to our district. And we look forward to working with you for the next couple of years. Thank you.
Any other comment? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote. It was properly had the proper motion and seconded. Director Way,
Yes.
Director Stradle.
Aye.
Director Perez.
Aye.
Director McVeigh.
Aye.
Director Benaloga, Vice Chair.
Aye.
And myself is aye. So the motion to approve a 3-year contract with Superintendent Shay James through June 30th, 2025 passes by a vote of 6. In summary, we appreciate your leadership and hard work. People don't realize how much work you really do. We'll get these emails every now and then, and it's like, wow. And we got one last week, but she does that a lot and her team is amazing. So we look forward to this next year and hopefully many more. No pressure though. Yeah. So congratulations, and we really look forward to working with you. That's the last. Before I adjourn though, on community input, I forgot to mention that we did receive 2 letters. One was on concern for our health, for the health of our children. And as the kids go back to school, there's still some concerns. And the other one was from a student, Adrian C. Nelson, that is having a really positive experience in her 4-H. So appreciate those inputs. You still, you can always send letters. So that's it. Thank you, board, for continuing to do this important work, for being here. I appreciate each of you trying to balance the many things you have going in your life. Take care and have a good weekend. Adjourn at 7:12.